Welcome to Rome. This is The Bittersweet Life with Katy Sewell and Tiffany Parks. Hello, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katy Sewell.
I'm Tiffany Parks.
Tiffany in Rome, Katy in Seattle. And today we're going to do some further reflection on last Monday's episode. If you haven't heard it yet, look for episode number 629, where I talked about the concept of manifesting with Felix Lee Lerma. Tiffany wasn't there for that conversation, unfortunately. And so we've decided to do a little bit of a follow-up and discuss it a bit further. So, where to start? Yeah.
Well, Katy, I'm going to take a page out of your book.
Okay.
You often like to go to the dictionary.
You want me to grab the dictionary?
Grab the dictionary because
Okay. Some of my older dictionaries might not even have manifesting in it.
oh, they'll have it. It's an old word.
All right.
It's an old word.
Hang on. All right. This is not my favorite dictionary, but this is a good one. This is the Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary, and by new we mean 1973. All right. Let's see. Do you want manifest, manifestant, manifestation, or manifest destiny? Or manifesto?
Yeah, I would start with manifest as a verb.
Okay. Manifest as a verb. It's really small.
That's all
To
right.
make evident or certain by showing or displaying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I found when I looked it
Okay.
up earlier today. To make evident, to make clear. And I think that that's interesting. And I looked up also the word origin.
Okay.
So the word origin comes from hand, manus. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
Latin word. And festus means to strike or seize, past tense. So struck by the hand
Mm-hmm.
or grabbed by the hand, seized by the hand. So that's like, I don't know exactly how that becomes to make clear, to make evident, but I always find it's interesting to look at the word origins.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, in ancient Rome, apparently, I discovered this, it was also used sometimes to mean caught in the act.
Oh. Manifest
Um,
specifically?
manifest. The word to manifest, to catch something or someone in the act of something because they're caught in the hand. Right? So
Uh-huh.
that's what the word really, really means. Like if you were to go all the way back to the original. Obviously, I know words, they change meaning along the way, and that's why language is so interesting. But for me, the word manifest, like if you want to not maybe go back to ancient Rome, but to go back to, a couple decades at least, makes to make clear. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that we use it probably without thinking of the other meaning, the other more new agey sort of meaning of manifest. I think we use it in the correct way, probably without thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like to make manifest, to make your ideas manifest. I mean, not manifest. Again, that sounds like I'm using it in the new age way, but I mean, what I mean is to make them clear. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and in Italian, there's a word called manifestazione, manifestation. Manifestation in Italian means a protest.
Yeah, it's like a group gathering, a
It's a
manifestation,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. It's basically like a protest. It does make sense if you think about the original meaning that by manifesting in that particular meaning of it, you are actually making clear your feelings, desires, issues with a certain situation, like
Mm-hmm.
something that's not okay to you. If they're trying to limit abortion access, people will manifest against it to show that they're against those limitations.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you looked this up because I do feel like a lot of me and Felix's discussion felt like a semantic argument that we were having over time. I know it was deeper than that, and it was, but it did also have like that semantic underfold to it where I think it's one thing, he thinks it's another thing, and there you go. Is there a concept in Italian that's like what we would think of manifesting in English, whereas it's not so much about gathering or bringing to attention, but bringing something to your life by your intentions?
Like making something come into being.
Yes, making something come into being, which I think is sort of what he was implying as.
Well, I hate to use the word new age because I don't like to group everything together under a sort of new age heading.
Sure.
But let's just use that for sake of sake
Right.
of argument.
Yes.
Um, I think that that is what the new age version of it does mean.
Well, does that
And
concept
so
exist in Italy?
I'm sure that it exists because the world has become so small with social media that all of the American ideas have been translated into every language. And maybe not as many people are, on that train, but certainly some people are. It's not a very Italian thing because Italians are very pragmatic, despite being like romantics. They are, as when it comes to work, very pragmatic people. They're kind of like, okay, I'm going to get a state job and get myself settled so that I have a regular salary coming in and a lifetime contract, as opposed to I'm going to manifest my dream life. Like it's just they don't have, and obviously this is grossly generalizing because there are, in every culture there are people of all different types. But the
Yes.
general consensus is, people would roll their eyes if you kind of said, well, I'm just going to manifest my dream life instead of going to college, or instead of, applying for a job. I'm not going to apply for a job. I'm just going to, attract it to me or something like that. I think Italians don't go in for that. Now, that said, obviously there are people out there who are doing it here in Italy too, who are practicing this and who believe in this way of living. And it's probably just fewer, I would guess.
Hmm.
And I don't know what word they use for it. They might use the same word, or they might use the English word. A lot of times they'll, if a word doesn't translate properly, they'll just use the foreign word for it. I mean, a lot of people do that.
Well, one of the thoughts that has hung with me after having that conversation with Felix, sometimes I felt like we were not very far away in what it was that we were saying that we thought to manifest something was. I'm just against the concept and he was for it. And, I think he kept trying to say, like, no, you're talking about the same thing as I'm talking about. And I remember him saying, you manifested this conversation. You manifested this conversation, which I was like, no, well, at least in my concept of manifesting, no, I didn't. Like I didn't hope that we would put this conversation together. I looked up your email. I wrote to you. I said, here's what might be interesting to talk about. And you said yes. But in his mind, it's like you put your idea on it, you put it out there, and it came to be. I don't know. There's something in that bugs me because whether or not I manifested the fact that we talked, something about like at least the it all comes to me concept that some people think of with manifestation makes me feel like, well, where is the effort? And of course, he was saying things won't come to you if you don't put in an effort. So he
Hmm.
was getting around my issue with that. But at the same point, even still, when I was thinking about our conversation later, I was like, but what about the actual work it took? The making the contact, the writing the person the email, all those things, even though that's not like a heavy lift or anything, but you know what I'm saying?
I think that, and this is just me, this isn't what I got from the conversation, but I think that the manifestation aspect of the process is kind of the stuff that's outside your control
Right.
for
Like
me.
he didn't have to write it back. That's that
Yeah,
his answer is outside of my control.
yeah. And I mean, I do think that's a kind of a simple example. I get his idea is everything has been made manifest. Everything that we see, besides things that are, come out of nature, I suppose. But everything that we see was at one time someone's idea. A
Mm-hmm.
computer was someone's idea, a microphone was someone's idea, a cell phone was someone's idea, every book was someone's idea.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody made it manifest, somebody made it real. I don't think that saying that is taking away from any of the effort, because we all know that whoever invented the microphone or the computer or the cell phone, or wrote a book, unless they use ChatGPT, used an incredible amount of effort to do that. The light bulb. I mean,
Yeah.
but at the same time, his point, I think, is that it was first an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the difficult part, or the tricky part, is making turning that idea into something real. And it takes a certain number of steps that we must do as far as the things that take effort. But it also takes a little bit of magic. It also takes a little bit of luck. It takes us believing in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody. Well, I don't know. Maybe there are some, mad geniuses out there who didn't believe in their work and yet managed to make it come into being. It seems unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
You think about someone writing a book, they believe in it, they believe they can do it, and that's what makes them go to the desk every single day and work on it. So yes, there are a certain number of steps in the process, whatever it is that you're trying to create, but not all of it is in your control. And you said, I wrote a book, and it wasn't like it just wrote itself. I had to work really hard at that. And you did. But there was a certain amount of things that had to fall into place for you to get the book deal that you got.
True.
And I am in no way taking away from your deserving of the book deal, but it wasn't a guarantee
Right.
that that was going to happen. And
True.
certain doors had to open, certain people had to see it. You know what I mean? We have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. This person is in a good mood today because I don't know, maybe their partner woke them up with breakfast in bed and so they're in a happy mood and they pick up a manuscript with a little bit more excitement and they like it a little better than they would have done if they'd had a fight with their partner that morning. I don't know.
But
Things like that.
but that brings the modern day concept of manifestation into play because why? Because there's a certain amount of things outside of your control that bring something to be.
So I think that the people who, and I'm not 100% on board with manifestation, but I'm much more open to it than you are. Uh, I think that what I've learned about it is that according to the manifestation concept, the universe is an active participant in what happens. It will synchronize with us if we allow it to. I write about that in my book, Midnight in the Piazza. If you are open to following the signs, and you put enough positive energy and positive vibrations toward what it is that you want, the universe will synchronize with you and will put people and things in your path that will help you. That for me, that's what manifesting is.
Yeah, but why? I mean, I agree that people should put a positive energy forward. I believe that people should believe that they can accomplish things, and that if they reach out, someone might answer. I'm totally on board with all of that. What I don't get is like, or what I don't even know what I don't like about it. There's something like when you say that to me, I'm just like, yeah, but you know, it gets into this realm where it has kind of I don't even want to say a spiritual quality to it. I really don't. It's like almost like a witchy quality to it. you know?
So woo woo. You
It
don't like the woo woo, Katie.
Well, it's
You
not like
never
I'm
have.
against woo woo. We have a mutual friend who loves tarot, and I find it delightful when she gives me a reading. Whether or not I think it's actually true is another matter, but I do find insight from what she's telling me. But she's also a friend of mine, who might be just giving me great advice through tarot cards. But I think, I mean, I guess part of it is like I had to give a speech once to a bunch of teenagers. And basically, the main crux of the speech, the whole point of the speech, which was many, many years ago now, was you don't necessarily know when a door is going to open. You might know what door you're hoping will open. And the example, of course, I was giving in the speech had to do with radio. That I really wanted to get a job at KUOW Public Radio in Seattle. And when I was an intern there, and so I was in the right place, I was an intern there, I was working my butt off. I wasn't getting paid. I was there forever, and there were no jobs. Nothing was available. Like, there were no openings, and no one was leaving, And then eventually, the doors started flying open. Like, a new position was created. I applied. I got it. And all of a sudden, I accelerated up the ladder like a rocket. And part of the point of my speech was, you don't know necessarily when a door will open for you, but you better be ready to go through that door when it does open. And that's more like deliberate, like do the work while you're waiting for the possibilities to come, like, and you're seeking the possibilities. You got to do all the hard work in the meantime. So if a possibility comes by, you're ready to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a huge part of it. I think you could, for me, it's a group effort, you know? It's at least half you and half, some people would say half God, or some people would say half the universe. whatever,
or like just other people.
or luck,
Yeah.
half luck.
Yeah.
Or
And
half other people. I mean, there is this, I mean, I can't stand people who act like they did everything themselves. I mean, there may be some rare people who really did, but I know I certainly didn't,
yeah,
can't,
nobody
take,
does anything just by themselves.
yeah, yeah, you're probably right. But, a lot of people are like, I'm a self-made man, or I pulled myself up by the bootstrings, or nobody ever gave me a free ride, or,
Yeah, except your mom
everything
made
I,
you at the very beginning. So,
yeah,
not quite
yeah.
self-made.
And she fed you, most likely she fed you. Um, so,
Hmm.
but I think we all have a certain amount of luck. If at the very least, it's luck. I kind of don't really
Or
believe in luck. I
yeah,
believe,
neither do I. Or it's like connections, or I mean, it could be any number of things. It could be how you take it. Back in the day, and probably it's been a long time since I used to travel to Vietnam and Cambodia all the time. So maybe things are different now, but it used to be that oftentimes stores are grouped together based on what they are for. So there's like an entire row of people who will do auto repair type stuff. Or there's an entire row of people who are selling goods to tourists, or there's an entire row of people selling chickens. I don't know. Whatever it is, like they are in clumps of where they're all selling the same product in the same place. And they had this very strong concept of lucky and unlucky days. Because in that concept, the fact that I walked into their particular tourist shop and bought their stuff instead of the guy next door or the person next door or the person next door, because they're all selling the same things, what more could it be than luck?
hmm
It was a lucky day for me. I had a lucky day versus an unlucky day. In that way, I love culturally that concept of luck. but
hmm
but I don't know, even in that circumstance, I don't know that I believe that it's luck. It might be
No,
that
I mean,
somebody was like more inviting, or they happened to catch my eye because of whatever they had sitting in the front of the store, or there was some factor that made me choose their store rather than the one next door.
there are marketing companies that are paid millions and millions and millions of dollars to study like the minutest things that make
Mm-hmm.
people choose one store over another or one product over another. And they do not surveys, but actual like experiments with people. They'll go, have you ever been part of a focus group? They are going to the tiniest little detail because they believe, I think that they've got to believe that there isn't, that none of it is luck, that it's all
Yeah, all.
organized, it's all planned, it's everything is, I mean, you look at those big companies like Apple, like, they're not doing anything on accident,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every single thing, every decision is
It's like
is,
meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after
yes,
meeting.
20
Yeah,
meetings to
yeah.
decide if they're gonna, if the leaf on the apple is gonna be round or pointed, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do think that there is some aspect of luck, but I think it's pretty small.
And we're going to pause here and take a brief break. And we're back. I guess I could say that if he's talking about the concept of manifesting as if you're putting yourself out there and toward what you want, right?
Hmm
Because, he's not saying, he was trying to, convince me that this is not just me willing it to be true and all of a sudden it's true. But I have to both take steps and also want it to be true. And I do think that there might be something to say putting yourself out there with a certain level of confidence, perhaps, or maybe it's the way that you pitch yourself to people and your ideas, but I do feel like it's so much more in your hands than anything mystical.
Yeah, I don't know that it's mystical, but I think that it's, I mean, I've talked about the reticular activating system to you
Yes.
before. I don't know if we've
Yes.
talked about it on this show,
Yes. No, we
but
have. We have talked about it
yeah.
on this show.
So if you are constantly thinking about something, you are going to constantly see things related to that thing.
Yeah, like the
And
time
it's,
11:11 or something. People are like, I see 11:11 all the time. I see 1, 2, 3, 4
yeah,
all the time.
yeah. And so when you're constantly thinking about something, you're going to notice things that, if they're related to that thing, might help you to achieve that thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that is a big part of manifesting. And that's not in any way mystical, that's scientific.
Right. like how you can train your brain to do certain things or notice certain things or be a certain way. Like you can be like, oh my gosh, I'm always so awkward in crowds. You can take steps to be less awkward in crowds. And it's a way of retraining yourself, right? For instance, I, as you know, had the New Year's resolution, which I'm not going to give you a full update on until our New Year's resolution show many, 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 many months from now. But I resolved to try to learn to meditate more. And I have been working toward that. And just today, I was doing a meditation that was about basically how there is a thought that if you meditate in a certain way, it can make you a more empathetic person. Well, I think I'm already a fairly empathetic person, but this is like, if you were to have trouble like letting go of your anger or letting go or seeing things from another person's side or, whatever your thing is, it's like if you do this kind of meditation on the regular, it will make you aware of different things. It will make you approach people differently because you've now spent time like in your brain thinking good things for people in your life or for people that you don't like or that you do like or whatever. I have only done one thing on it, so I'm no expert in this type of meditation. But I mean, that is kind of similar to what you're saying. It's like training the brain to notice and be different in certain situations.
Yeah.
Notice
Yeah, I
your
don't.
behavior differently, I guess. Notice what you're doing in a different way.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that's the same thing. I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. I don't really think that's what I mean, though. But I think that's a totally valuable thought, and we could even explore that further in another episode. But I think mine is more like what I'm going after is more like I really want to get a job. Let's say I'm, 22 years old, and I really want to get a job in finance. And I'm at a networking event, and I overhear somebody talking about my professor,
Mm-hmm.
of such and such, and my ears perk up. And maybe my subconscious notices something. Maybe my subconscious picks up that this person, I saw them in a journal, and they're an important person in the, business that I'm trying to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this stuff kind of comes together and I introduce myself and I make a really good professional connection that leads to me getting a job. For me, is that is a big part of manifesting that I think is more scientific than mystical.
Yeah, but manifesting again, maybe we're back to the very beginning with the semantic argument. Manifesting not as in how people think about it as sometimes hoping,
I don't think
or
about it as hoping. I don't think
I
that's
know
the right
hoping's
word.
not right.
It's bringing into being. It's bringing something into being, willing something into being, making it happen.
Right. Willing something into being. But, arguably by doing all that research so that you do notice and by putting yourself at the event. Now, that doesn't mean that most events you go to like that don't fall totally flat.
But you gotta know, Katie, there are people out there, I'm sure you've known them, that like everything just works out for them. Like they
No,
just
I don't think I know
things
anybody
fall.
who's like that. I really don't. Like,
I feel like I know people who like things just fall into their lap. Like things just work out for them.
see, I don't feel like I know those people. I think if anything, I know, um, I've known people who where it feels like everything falls into their lap, but one guy that immediately pops to mind who's gotten like so many opportunities, it's almost insane. But he's kind of a bit of a bully. And he's one of those people that like, goes into the room and is like, this is what I want. And some people love that assertiveness and some people don't. I tend to think like, God, he's gotten a lot of what he wanted, but how do people feel about him? So I guess I don't feel like I know anybody who just gets like whatever they want and are
I didn't say
particularly
whatever they want,
lucky or
but
something like that. Yeah, not everything. Nobody gets everything they want, but I don't think I do know anybody who's like that. I really don't. I think that there's something about them or their connections or how they are that maybe makes it feel like that or the way they spin it when they talk to you or on social media makes it feel like that, but I don't feel like that's a reality for anybody.
maybe.
I don't know. All right, well, we can leave it there. We can leave it there. Boy, two discussions, and I'm still in pretzels about what I actually even think this is. But I like talking to you about it, and I'm sorry that you couldn't join Felix and me to talk about it because I feel like it would have been quite the conversation if all three of us were involved.
I did like that he was very he was very sporting about it. You were like pushing back on him a lot and he was like down with it. He
Yeah,
was
he was
okay
all
with
for
it.
it. Yeah, he's like, that's great. He's like, I don't want us to all just sit around and agree. It's much more
Yeah.
fun to debate the issue, kind of like we just did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Don't forget to explore our website, thebittersweetlife.net, where you can read all about the trip we're taking to Rome in November. We really hope that you do want to join us. I know things are a bit uncertain in the world right now, but this trip is going to be the breath of fresh air on your horizon that you need. All the details are at thebittersweetlife.net. And until next time, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell.
I'm Tiffany Parks.
Join us again. Bye. Do you have a topic you want us to explore? Send your requests. We'd love to hear what you want to know. Visit thebittersweetlife.net and contact us with your questions, your adventures, your observations, your favorite episodes. We love hearing from you. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for The Bittersweet Life Podcast.